What's good with the YouTube, man? It's your boy Rojo, and this is the Rojo Room, man. And today we're going to talk a little bit about a place I'm real familiar with, which is the East Bay Area city of Concord. And we've talked about it before in some of my spills, talking about some of my history and whatnot, about how in the early 90s, there was very, very little, if any, Sureño presence. That all changed in like 92, 93 on the Monument area. They became a dozen, then 50, then 100, then a couple hundred. Well, we're gonna get into a case with them, man. Well, it's actually an accumulation of things over time. See, I used to know this youngster, man, who was he was a gang member for a while, and then he turned into kind of like a party boy. And I remember there's a place called Newhall Park off Clayton Road, and he had went there to do whatever, man. The next day they found him as a victim of a hot one. You know what I'm saying? And he was just a youngster, you know what I mean? So I mean, this is going all the way back years and years into the 90s, right? Well, this case that they have, the feds came in and started targeting, the Monument area Southsiders, and it links all these things together, man. I guess there was four unsolved hot ones from all the way back into the 90s, and they solved them all in a week. I guess they arrested the wrong person or something. He cooperated. I don't know. Maybe this thing will tell us, but I'm going to read this article real quick and then talk about it a little bit. This is from the Tribune Content Agency. State and federal authorities arrest 26 suspected gang members in Bay Area. Charges include 4 homicides. 26 suspected Sureño members and associates have been charged with serious crimes, including murder, according to Bay Area officials who Tuesday announced the arrest after years-long law enforcement operation targeting the Southern California-based gang that has earned a reputation for violent reprisals against informants and rivals. Known as Operation Boulevard Blues. They always got a funny name. The FBI and Concord police-led operation brought 4 Contra Costa homicide investigations to a close and resulted in 11 suspected Sureños facing murder and gang charges in state court. Authorities served 34 search warrants across the Bay Area in recent weeks and seized 42 guns, according to prosecutors. The 4 homicides occurred in 2014 and, 2000, and through 2015, but were just recently solved, police said. They were in Concord, 3 were in Concord, 1 occurred in Antioch. The victims include Luis Estrada, a 16-year-old boy, who in November 2015 was taken to a Concord park, ambushed, and shot in the head by somebody he thought was a friend, according to the criminal complaint. Police say the conspiracy to kill Estrada included his own cousin, who was accused of luring Estrada into danger that night. Another man, 21-year-old Victor Gutierrez, was shot and killed in April 2014 by a Sureño who was out looking for rival Norteño members to shoot and used a pistol with a laser sight to gun him down, according to authorities. Additionally, 15 suspects were brought up on federal charges, including 12 defendants charged with distributing large amounts of heroin and meth out of Concord. Another 2 are charged with dealing firearms without a license, and another man was charged with gun possession. The federal charges centered on an area of Concord along Monument Boulevard, also referred to as the Bully, which has been known as the Sureño hotspot for decades. At a Tuesday news conference, U.S. Attorney Dave Anderson said the gang had taken a shopping center on Monument and turned it into a one-stop shop for drugs and guns, without even trying to hide it, a fact Anderson said authorities found particularly appalling. Man, they don't like curb serving, all that broad daylight kind of stuff, throwing it in their face. Man, they take it personal. You know what I mean? Instead of keeping it, business, they take it personal, man. Hey, everybody takes things personal that they shouldn't at times, right? The defendants peddled their drugs in broad daylight and in public places, Anderson said. The drug charges are based on a series of controlled purchases done by federal confidential informant in Concord and Pleasant Hill, according to the criminal complaint. Several pounds of meth were seized, according to court records. Anderson, appointed by U.S. Attorney William Barr in 2019, claimed the charges explode the myth of a nonviolent drug dealer. Drugs are expensive. Drugs are dangerous. Where we find drugs, We almost always find guns, he said. Though it originated in Los Angeles, the Surenos has subsets all over the Bay Area, including Concord, Antioch, Brentwood, North Richmond, and Vallejo, authorities said. The gang associates with the Mexican mafia in California prisons and uses the color blue to distinguish itself and claims the number 13 as a symbol. The gang has a major presence in Concord with subsets known as the Southside Locos, the Aztec Kings, the Murder Mob, Murder Meadows, Brown Crowd Locos, which also has members of Vallejo, Brown Pride Locos, and the Beach Flat Sureños, which originated in Santa Cruz, according to the criminal complaint. The SSL subset has existed in Concord for a quarter century, according to the criminal complaint. 3 of the 4 charged homicides were allegedly motivated by gang rivalry. Monument Boulevard is safer today, Concord Police Chief Mark Bustillo said at a news conference. There are guns that would be used in criminal street acts. We were able to solve 4 cold case homicides. It's really important that we bring closure to those victims' families after years of not having anyone arrested. Though police informants are never viewed favorably in any gang's culture, the Sureños in the Bay Area are known for being particularly ruthless when it comes to targeting so-called snitches. Since 2012, authorities in Contra Costa have investigated numerous violent crimes, including several murders where the victim was either a police informant or related to one. Estrada's killing was among them, police say. Before the killing, Sureño members allegedly passed court paperwork around showing Estrada had cooperated with police on a case that sent 2 Sureños to jail. Estrada associated with Sureños growing up, police said, but in the weeks before his death, he'd drawn the ear of some Southside Locos members. It started when he began dating a girl who associated with Norteños and posted a picture on social media of them, where she gripped a red rag, a Norteño symbol, authorities wrote in court records. On November 30th, 2015, Estrada's cousin, 25-year-old Andrew Cervantes, allegedly asked Estrada to join him and others as they went through Concord looking for rival Norteños to shoot, the criminal complaint alleges. When they got to Hillcrest Park in Concord, Michael Valdez, 24, allegedly murdered Estrada, shooting him in the head at close range. Valdez, Cervantes and the third man, Daniel Rodriguez, 29, allegedly then drove to Benicia, getting rid of evidence along the way. 2 weeks before Estrada's death in Antioch, Valdez allegedly shot and killed 18-year-old Marcus Villazon near Sycamore Drive. The charging records do not list a suspected motive, but police said at the time that Villazon's killer had issued a gang talk before opening fire. 6 people, Antonio Gonzalez, Aurelio Mendez, Jose Ochoa, Marcos Ochoa, Jose Cisneros Lorano, and Luis Cruz are charged with conspiring to kill 30-year-old Eric Cruz, who was shot and killed outside of Pine Meadows Apartments in September of 15. The charging documents allege defendants killed Eric Cruz over a dispute involving a .357 pistol in Cruz's possession. The charging records do not name the suspected shooter, but say that Cruz was shot in the back while meeting with all 6 defendants with a gun owned by Jose Ochoa. 2 people, Rafael A. Lopez and Juan Barocio Jr., 27, are charged with murdering Gutierrez. The records allege that Barocio drove a van to and from the scene of the crime, and that Lopez opened fire at Gutierrez after spotting him walking by. The 2 were driving around the 1600 block of Adelaide Street looking for rivals to shoot, the complaint alleges. Now, see, man, when I came to Concord in the early 90s, 1992 to be specific, man, there was maybe 10 of them guys, from the other side, in the Concord area. They were all pretty much around Monument. They really wouldn't go nowhere else, Monument's a unique area. There's so many apartments and there's all kinds of cuts. You know what I mean? It's hard to go in there and do anything if you're not from there, because it could be a little confusing. You know what I'm saying? You end up on some of these streets and you try to get out of there and you're just going to run right into more of their people. You know what I'm saying? So without intimate knowledge of the area, man, it's a pretty messed up place to get caught up in some drama, because it can come real fast from all directions. And I know firsthand, I used to live right there when they had a pretty significant stronghold in that area. I lived on Lacey Lane and Nicholas, which was like 2 blocks up off of Monument, right there in the heart of SSL area. And it was rough, man, just getting in and out of there, and I didn't mess with them dudes or nothing like that, you know what I mean? Because I had the family right there, I just tried to get to the crib and get out of there and whatnot. And man, it was a challenge, bro. There'd be a lot of putos, where you from, and shit being thrown, and it's hard to not do nothing, man, because man, you might have the old lady in the car, you might have the kid, and you kind of just gotta eat that, you know what I mean? You say something back, instead of a bottle, it could be a piece of lead, so and the SSL dudes, I haven't had no interactions with none of those other groups but the SSLs. And they've been pretty much limited to just hands. They shot up my house one time. I've done some things to them as well, but for the most part, man, they started off real discreet. I ended up going to prison in '93, and when I got out, they were no longer, you know, we used to didn't pay attention to them. That they're irrelevant. If we caught them slipping somewhere and nobody was around, man, we'd handle our business. But we wouldn't really necessarily go look for them either. And that was probably from a strategy point, that was probably a horrible decision, because they started to flourish, and without getting harassed too much, they didn't take nobody seriously. You know what I mean? Because man, we basically just stayed, our little areas, and they stayed in theirs. But that allowed them to grow without any adverse things happening to them, which might change their mind that, hey, this isn't the best idea to be out here. But as time goes by, they developed and became a force to reckon with. And now it's like you could lose your life over there on the Monument corridor, if things went funny. Back in the days, you might get jumped, you might get your windows broke, but I can only think of 3 or 4 incidents of gunplay. You know what I mean? Over the whole '90s and even into the early 2000s. But anyway, yeah, the upstate Surenos and them hoods, those are pretty much where they're strong at. The Brentwood, Oakley area, Concord, Richmond, Mayo. There might be another one, but upstaters, man, they've been doing their thing, and I watched them develop throughout the '90s, 2000s, 2010s, and now into the '20s in Concord, and their presence is definitely way stronger than it was at some points, man. It's like they're a real threat. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, this is your boy Rojo. This is the Rojo Room. Hope y'all enjoyed this one. Have a good day, man. Appreciate y'all.